The stabbing of innocent people by moderate Muslims continues. Democrat Attorney General Loretta Lynch vows to prosecute those who use anti-Muslim speech. And the Jerusalem Post's Caroline Glick weighs in on America's pathological denial of reality. My name's Howard Riell, and this is Riell Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com and on Facebook and YouTube and Tumblr and in the book, Riell Truth, Stay Angry. And of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM, The Lion. Our call-in number is 877-254-7524, my friends. Welcome back. Brand new week, same old problems. Item from Caroline Glick, writing at the Jerusalem Post. I quote, "In America of December 2015, natural conclusions are considered irresponsible at best. How much lower will America sink before it regains its senses?" Wednesday, two Muslims walked into a Christmas party at a community service center in San Bernardino, California, where one worked. They were wearing body armor and video cameras and carrying automatic rifles, pipe bombs, and pistols. They opened fire, killed 14, wounded 17. The murderers, Syed Farouk and his wife, Tashfeen Malik, were killed by police. Speaking to the Daily News, Farouk's father said his son, quote, was very religious. He would go to work, come back, go to pray, come back. He's Muslim, unquote. Farouk's neighbor told the paper that over the past 2 years, Farouk exchanged his Western dress for Islamic gowns and grew a beard. These data points lead naturally to the conclusion that Farouk and his wife were jihadists who killed in order to kill in the name of Islam. But in America of December 2015, natural conclusions are considered irresponsible. In an interview with CNN following the shooting, U.S. President Barack Obama said the massacres demonstrate that the U.S. needs stricter gun laws. As for the motives of the shooters, Obama shrugged. "We don't yet know the motives of the shooters," he insisted. In other words, while ignoring what in all likelihood drove Farouk and his wife to murder innocent people, Obama laid responsibility for the carnage at the feet of his political opponents, who reject his demands for stricter limitations on gun ownership. Here is the place to note that California has some of the most stringent gun control laws in the United States. According to the victims, Farouk and his partners were able to reload their weapons and shoot without interruption for several minutes until the police arrived, because there was no one to stop them. Obama wasn't alone in deflecting attention away from the likely motivations of the murderers. Wednesday evening, the Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, held a press conference at the Islamic Center of Orange County. Farouk's brother-in-law, Farhan Khan, was carted out before the cameras to tell the world that he, for one, had no idea why his brother-in-law opened fire. Two other speakers at the event were Hussam Ayloush, CARE's regional executive director, and Muzammil Siddiqui, the director of the Islamic Society of Orange County. Ayloush insisted he had no idea who could possibly have prompted Farouk and his wife to murder those gathered at the center. Ayloush raised the prospect that they could have been mentally ill, or perhaps they just didn't like the victims, or maybe they were garden variety extremists. For his part, Siddiqui insisted that Islam had nothing to do with the shooter's decision to murder innocent people. How he could be so certain is unknown. Siddiqui added he hopes law enforcement bodies will conduct a full investigation into the people and the motives behind the attack. To a degree, the very fact that Siddiqui had no compunction about stepping in front of the cameras just hours after the attack is proof that the U.S. has lost its way. If American elites were even semi-competent, Siddiqui would have faded into the shadows, never to emerge again 15 years ago. Siddiqui is a known jihadist sympathizer. His close ties to jihadists have been a matter of public record since 2000. In October of 2000, Siddiqui spoke at an anti-Israel rally in Lafayette Park in Washington, D.C. There, he warned the American people they must abandon their support for Israel lest, quote, the wrath of God be unleashed against them. According to a profile of Siddiqui compiled by the Investigative Project on Terrorism, in the late 1990s, Siddiqui gave a speech extolling jihad and foreseeing Israel's replacement with an Islamic State. Among other things, Siddiqui said, quote, in order to gain the honor, jihad is the path, jihad is the way to receive the honor, unquote. Related item from the End of the American Dream blog. Random Islamic terror attacks are now going to be part of everyday life in America. Once upon a time, those of us that warned Islamic terrorists were already in this country were branded alarmists, but not anymore. When Mohammed Yusuf Abdulaziz gunned down 4 U.S. Marines at a Navy and Marine Reserve Center in Chattanooga, Tennessee earlier this year, that was just a very small preview of what's coming. On Wednesday, a married couple named Syed Farouk and Tashfeen Malik fired at least 65 shots at a holiday office party in San Bernardino, California. 14 people were killed, 21 wounded. Later on, hundreds of shots were exchanged as police officers pursued the vehicle that Farouk and Malik were attempting to escape in. Fortunately, Farouk and Malik are no longer a threat to any of us, but there are thousands more radicals just like them that are already living in this country and that are ready to act at any time. On Thursday, many in the mainstream media are attempting to figure out what could have possibly motivated a married couple with a new baby to go on such a shooting spree, but it doesn't take a genius to figure it out, unquote. Well, my friends, when there are things that don't take a genius, that's when I show up, because I know genius, but I do know 2 and 2 when I see it. All the apologists for Islam, the apologists for Islamic violence and barbarism, starting with the president, descending down to his attorney general, LORETTA LYNCH, and all the PC police and all the liberals and all the Democrats who want to tell you, Hillary Clinton said it a week ago, Islamic violence has nothing whatsoever to do with Islam. Well, Hillary Clinton is a liar. Barack Obama is a liar. Loretta Lynch is a liar. And anyone who tells you that Islamic violence has nothing to do with Islam, it must be detached from reality. You know it. I know it. So what's going to be? Is this stuff going to be in the headlines every week now for the rest of our lives? Yeah, it is. Unless we prevent it. How are you going to prevent it? Really? You can only watch so many people so much of the time. Well, you're right. You can't watch everybody all the time. But that's assuming that you've got to watch them. That's assuming that they're here where we can watch them. It's not assuming that they're elsewhere where we don't have to watch them, or be afraid of them opening fire, or preaching jihad, or trying to bring the government down. We don't have to watch them here if they're somewhere else, and that, my friends, that is the solution to terrorism. It's Monday, and it's Riell Truth, and I'll be back.
I'm Joe Chapin, CEO of the Patriot Trading, and I would like to encourage everyone to make sure they are prepared financially as the Federal Reserve continues to destroy the value of the dollar. Since the closing of the gold window in 1971, the Federal Reserve has led the way in the explosion of debt and the devaluing of your money. They openly say that they need 2% inflation, which simply means they hope to devalue your money, and they want to do this every single year, year after year. I know it's hard to understand, but the Federal Reserve believes in prosperity through debt and growth via the devaluation of your future. To learn more about how to protect yourself, visit us at allamericangold.com or call us at 800-951-0592 to protect yourself against the devaluing of your money. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld His glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness of Him and cried out, saying, This was He of whom I said, He who comes after me is preferred before me, for He was before me. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or while incurring the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10.
Hi guys, welcome back. Real Truth Monday, and I'm about to tell you the future. You didn't think I had the power to predict the future, but I do. I'm going to tell you the future of America. Okay, the natural question is real. How do you know the future of America? Well, it's real easy. Because the future of America is the present day in Europe. Over in Europe, specifically Belgium, they are dealing with what we will have to deal with in the future if we fail to act now. Here's a video I'm going to post at my Facebook page, Real Truth Radio. Sharia law, slowly but surely being imposed in Belgium. Here we go.
The graffiti says it all. Welcome to Belgistan. Muslims are still a minority in Belgium, but if you count the largest religious group,
My friends, the key to what you just heard was that Belgian guy saying, I don't think it's going to stop. Well, he's a schmuck. Because things don't just stop unless you stop them. Instead of sitting with it on his hands and saying, I don't think it'll stop, let him say, how can we stop it? Because it can be stopped. It can be stopped. I mean, the solution is in front of everyone's eyes, and no one wants to acknowledge it. But there's only one solution. Only one. You can have no Muslims committing violence in your country if there are no Muslims in your country. You want to refute my logic? Feel free to call me and tell me. Item from truthandaction.org. While the Obama administration and their liberal media crows try to convince the world that Islam is a religion of peace, on the other side of the world, anybody who turns on a television or knows anything about the religion of Islam is laughing. If you go to the video on the next page, and my friends, I invite you to do that, you'll see an Islamic cleric on a talk show speaking the truth about Islamic jihad. And all of the fears that President Obama claims to be false are suddenly proven right. The cleric goes on to say that when Muslims invade America, they will offer us three choices: convert to Islam, pay a tax, or fight. Those that refuse will be killed and have their women sold into sex slavery. Talk about taking a walk back to the Dark Ages. How is it that Americans are preaching the value of tolerating a religion that wants to do something like that? It goes against all the principles America was founded on. Unquote. My friends, it goes against all the principles that human life is founded on here on earth. When do we get smart about this? Item from express.co.uk. A man was stabbed in the ticket hall at Leytonstone Station this evening by another man who witnesses say shouted, "This is for Syria," as he slashed his victim's throat. Another three are thought to be injured. Unquote. My friends, picture your wife or a husband or mother or father or son or daughter having their throat slashed by a Muslim. Think it couldn't happen? It could happen. It will happen unless we prevent it from happening. Item from the Daily Wire. Loretta Lynch vows to prosecute those who use anti-Muslim speech that, quote, edges toward violence. The day after a horrific shooting spree by a radicalized Muslim man and his partner in San Bernardino, Attorney General Loretta Lynch pledged to a group of Muslim activists that she would take aggressive action against anyone who used, quote, anti-Muslim rhetoric that edges toward violence. Speaking to the audience at the Muslim Advocates' 10th anniversary dinner on Thursday, Lynch said her, quote, greatest fear is the, quote, incredibly disturbing rise in anti-Muslim rhetoric, unquote, in America, and vowed to prosecute anyone guilty of what she deemed violence-inspiring speech. Stop! Now, my friends, I imagine a job like Attorney General keeps Loretta Lynch pretty busy. She probably doesn't get out much. I'm hoping once in a while she tips a glance at the news. The number one problem in America is not anti-Muslim rhetoric. In fact, I think America would benefit greatly from some more anti-Muslim rhetoric. And if Ms. Lynch wants to call me and chat about it, she can call in just like anybody else. She said the following, quote, the fear that you've just mentioned is, in fact, my greatest fear as a prosecutor, as someone who's sworn to the protection of all the American people, which is that the rhetoric will be accompanied by acts of violence. My message to not just the Muslim community, but to the entire American community is we cannot give in to the fear that these backlashes are really based on. Assuring the pro-Muslim group that, quote, we stand with you, Lynch said she would use her Justice Department to protect Muslims from violence and discrimination, unquote. My friends, please hold your vomit until the commercial break. Item from Paul Joseph Watson, writing at InfoWars. The Obama administration reacted to yesterday's shooting. Obviously, this item is a few days old. In San Bernardino, likely carried out by Muslim terrorists, by insisting that common sense gun laws will deter jihadists who are planning attacks. Reporter Peter Ducey asked White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest, does the president really think that common sense gun laws would deter terrorists now that he's admitted these two may have been terrorists? Yes, the president believes that passing common sense gun laws that make it harder for people with bad intentions to get guns make the country safer, responded Ernest. But so the president thinks that when there are potentially two terrorists sitting around planning a mass murder, they may call it off because President Obama has put in place common sense gun laws, Ducey shot back. Why wouldn't we make it harder for them? What's the explanation for that? Responded Ernest. Quote, my friends, Ernest has paid quite a bit of money to keep his head firmly up his ass and do exactly what his boss, Barack Obama, tells him to do. The only problem with that is Barack Obama is an enabler and a supporter of terror. Item from the PCGraveyard.com. Joe Walsh, former congressman from Illinois, has taken up the challenge put forth by Loretta Lynch. Lynch, who is responsible for the safety of Americans, has not made any such move, and so because she lacks the ability to do her job, she's chosen to champion the cause of Muslims. As of now, Muslims can kill as many Americans as they like, but God forbid you should say something to a Muslim that offends them. Lynch has threatened federal action against those who would do such a thing, the First Amendment notwithstanding. Walsh released a statement to Hyperline News that challenges Lynch to do her worst. Quote, what the hell does that mean? I have a First Amendment right, Ms. Lynch, to say whatever I want about Muslims. You want to try and prosecute me for what I say? I dare you. Here goes. Most Muslims around the world are terrorists, support terrorism, and or support Sharia law. They are our enemy. I don't want them in America. Any Muslim that won't assimilate should get the hell out of America. Any Muslim that is a terrorist or supports terrorism should be killed. If moderate Muslims don't speak out against terrorism, they are our enemy and we should call them out and kick them out of this country. I hope there's a backlash against Muslims because Islam, as practiced by most Muslims, is not a religion of peace. And all of us who do live in peace should do whatever we can to defeat Islam. There, Ms. Lynch, as an American, I have a right to say everything I just did. And I will continue to speak the truth about Islam in the hopes that others will wake up to this truth and do what we can to defeat this evil in our midst. Is that anti-Muslim rhetoric that edges towards violence? Go ahead and prosecute me. I dare you. Unquote. There is a former congressman, my friends, with guts. Item from TrueNews.com. John Woodich, the Department of Veterans Affairs' former top watchdog, resigned after being... You know what? I'll tell you what. I'm not going to finish this item. If I had, you would invariably say to yourselves, what the hell is wrong with America? Have so many people gone crazy all at the same time? I'm not going to tell you what this guy was doing in an all-glass conference room in full view of people across the street, including school teachers at an education conference. I won't say it. You can use your imagination or you can look it up online. The bottom line is this. America has descended into the gutter. And we're there right now. And instead of like this Belgian guy wondering when it's going to change, I hope you're listening to my voice and deciding that you will help it to change. We'll be back.
We all know that our government is out of control. Who are the people in it? How can we, the people, bring it back to the people's service, not the people's masters? Liberty, time, and the freedom of their state. Officials in government must be made accountable for their actions. AccountabilityRevolution.com is the place to go to learn how you can actually make that happen. Become their judges, not their slaves. AccountabilityRevolution.com.
Great Plains Power has been providing reliable electrical power systems in the Rocky Mountain area since 1992. Our systems rely on the sun to help make you self-reliant for your power needs. Solar energy can be scaled to fit any situation, from complete power independence to backup power for the short term. Our expertise focuses on standalone power, but we have extensive experience with utility interactive systems as well. Custom catered capabilities as modest as emergency lighting all the way to commercial scale power. Great Plains Power is a full service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom design system, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the internet. Call 303-239-9963. That's 303-239-9963. Or go to GreatPlainsSolar.com. Now, this is the testimony of John Jews sent recent Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" He confessed and did not deny, but confessed, "I am not the Messiah." And they asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" And he answered, "No." The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 19 through 21. Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Nicholas Restaurant Dental reminds us that over 750,000 children were reported missing last year. Over 58,000 of these were abducted by non-family members. Keep an eye out for youngsters at play, and if you see anything suspicious, contact the authorities immediately. This message from Nicholas Restaurant in Denver is not only the best Italian and Mexican cuisine, it's the people who care. Give them a call at 303-757-5166. 303-757-5166. Take a look.
My friends, it's Monday here on Riell Truth. By the way, happy Hanukkah to those who lit their menorahs last night for the first time. I have got a retired admiral here. It's very, very interesting. In this next video, a retired admiral, James Lyon, is about to let loose with a secret that Muslims in America don't want you to hear. Now, no doubt Loretta Lynch is hot on this guy's trail. He looks to be about 140 years old, but he's old enough not to be worried about the PC police. Let's listen.
Pleased to have Admiral James Lyons with us. Well, thank you, Frank. Sorry I missed the
My friends, that is common sense. It's the way common sense used to be. These days, if you say that, people start screaming, but the fact is, it's true. And I give this retired Admiral James Lyons a lot of credit for speaking the simple truth, because in America these days, it makes you an endangered species. Item from Reuters: German Vice Chancellor Sigmar Gabriel urged Saudi Arabia on Sunday to stop supporting religious radicals amid growing concern among some lawmakers in Berlin about the funding of militant mosques by the world's biggest oil exporter. The unusual criticism of the Gulf States follows a report by Germany's Foreign Intelligence Agency, which suggested that Saudi foreign policy was becoming more, quote, impulsive. The German government rebuked the BND agency for making such suggestions about Saudi Arabia, an important business partner that's involved in international talks to find a political solution to the Syria crisis. We need Saudi Arabia to solve the regional conflicts, Sigmar Gabriel said. But we must, at the same time, make clear that the time to look away is past. Wahhabi mosques are financed all over the world by Saudi Arabia. In Germany, many dangerous Islamists come from these communities. He said, unquote. My friends, I would take issue with that. I don't think we need Saudi Arabia at all. I think the world would be a hell of a lot safer if we made Saudi Arabia disappear. Yeah. Item from The Guardian. The president of Liberty University urged student, staff, and faculty at the Christian school to carry concealed weapons on campus to counter any possible armed attack like the mass shootings in San Bernardino. Let's teach them a lesson if they ever show up here, President Jerry Falwell Jr. told an estimated 10,000 students at the weekly convocation held on Friday in Lynchburg. The call to arms was met with rousing applause from students, but some said Falwell went too far when he appeared to be referring specifically to Muslims, the News and Advance reported. I've always thought if more good people had concealed carry permits, then we could end those Muslims before they walked in, Falwell said. The final words of his statement could not be clearly heard on a videotape of the remarks. Questioned by a student on social media, Falwell said he was referring to Islamic terrorists. I was referring to, quote, those Muslims that just carried out attacks in Paris and California, he said in response on Twitter. Reached later by the newspaper, Falwell said, quote, there are many good Muslims, many good moderate Muslims, unquote. My friends, I would tell you that every Muslim is a good moderate Muslim. Right up until the very moment they start butchering people. Then, no more good moderate Muslim. Item from Agence France Presse. Dateline London. New world heavyweight champion Tyson Fury has repeated views on women that have him accused of sexism and declared that he is a good role model for children. Fury, a nominee for the prestigious BBC Sports Personality of the Year award, was criticized after claiming a woman's place was, quote, in the kitchen and on her back, unquote, and for saying that Olympic heptathlon champion Jessica Ennis Hill, quote, slaps up good. He has also likened homosexuality to pedophilia, prompting an anti-discrimination campaigner to set up a petition calling for Fury to be removed from the BBC shortlist, which to date has attracted over 50,000 signatures. But in a YouTube video for IFL TV published on Sunday, Fury said, quote, I'm a little bit backward. I didn't really go to school. Which part of saying a woman looks good in a dress is sexist? Unquote. Well, I can answer that. The part where you go out in public and say it, my friends, because we live in an age in which if you stand up in a public forum and say 2 + 2 = 4, there is sure to be someone who's going to start screaming. That's just the sick epic in which we find ourselves. Again, let's make it better. We'll take a break, and we'll make it better with more Real Truth. Stay tuned. All right, guys, all done. When you watch this video, share it with everybody. Get the word out. I'll see you tomorrow.